Welcome to the Smores and Stripes podcast. Today we have an amazing guest. Now, Brad Stine has issues, okay? He has built an entire podcast around that fact, but today we brought him some new issues because adults have had controls of these issues for long enough. So,
today the kids are bringing Brad their completely reasonable concerns about God, history, homeschooling, parents, and America. But it's Brad's job to help resolve them.
So Brad, welcome to Brad Stine Has Kid Issues. Are you prepared to answer for everything adults have done?
I am, but my understanding was this was going to be done in Aramaic. So are we going to be doing this in English? Because I'm a polyglot, as you know, and I speak every language fluently. But if you guys just want to keep it at the base level of English, that's fine, but it's just a little embarrassing because I figured as homeschoolers, these kids should be on French by now. But anyways, okay.
We should absolutely.
Fluent in Latin, at least, so far.
Here we go. Okay, all right, so we're going to start off with William, okay? Hang on a second. Charlotte, get down for me for a minute. Go sit over there for a moment. Just for a moment, okay? Don't worry, we'll come right back. William, take it away.
Okay. We're homeschooled right now. Okay, so we're learning about grams. That's nice. I already have a
You're
gram.
learning about what?
Grams. We're learning about grams.
Grams. Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm sorry, I didn't understand. Go ahead.
It's okay. That's nice. I already have a gram. She's 72. Then they said we had to learn about milligrams. They're trying to mill my grandma.
Ooh.
She's been through enough.
No kidding.
Then there's a kilogram. Grammy, run! They're bringing in the metric system!
That's
And
horrifying.
then-
They're going to kill your grandma? What kind of a school is this?
Exactly!
Ready, go ahead.
And then...
Go ahead.
So, Brad, I've heard about this Boston Tea Party. You know that?
I'm very familiar with the Boston Tea Party because I drink tea, and that means I'm part of the legacy of the Tea Party. My tea doesn't come from Boston, though. It comes from Idaho.
That's very interesting.
Usually,
Isn't
So
it?
Betty's
usually
heard
they
about
do
the Boston
potatoes.
Tea Party. Go ahead, Betty.
I would have loved that. I mean, I've got the teacups, I got the little sandwiches. Like, tell me everything. I don't get it.
Okay, well, listen, just to let you know, it's getting a little choppy, so I'm kind of missing some of your...
It's getting choppy?
Yeah, so I just missed some of what she said, so can you repeat it, please?
Okay, all right, Betty, start over, baby. Start over from the top, okay?
Okay.
So tell us about the... Go ahead.
So, Brad, I've heard about this Boston Tea Party.
Yes.
I would have loved that. I mean, I've got the teacups, I got the little sandwiches. Tell me everything.
You're asking me about the Boston Tea Party?
Yes.
Oh, see. I figured that as homeschooler you'd have it down by now, but okay. Well, listen, what we don't like in America, if you have the American milieu, is we don't like to be told or ruled by governmental bureaucracies. We don't like monarchies. We don't like anyone who decides that they will control our freedom or our agency. Now keep in mind that we came from Britain and we were proud to be of British heritage. But we created colonies. We did the hard work of coming across on the Mayflower. It was rough. We brought children. It was very difficult. And we created a community, a group of villages and towns and so forth, and a system of government that we did on our own. Didn't really get much help from Britain. And so over time, we got used to having our own ability to govern ourselves, our own kind of laws and traditions and institutions. And what we didn't want was somebody suddenly deciding for us how we would govern ourselves or how they would decide without our representation if they could just tax us, take money from us, for reasons of their own debt or their own decisions that put them in a position where they needed money. And they wanted to take it from us without our permission, let alone asking if it was okay. So we began to protest, and that protest culminated in sneaking onto a boat that had tea that they wanted to tax, and we threw it overboard. Now, it doesn't sound as dramatic, actually, just throwing a few boxes overboard, but history has defined it as a time, a stamp, so to speak, as to when we were making it very clear that we were no longer going to see ourselves as British subjects, but in fact, we're going to create our own governments, our own country, our own ability to live together and create our own nation and integrate ourselves in that way. So it was a crowning achievement, even though, at the time it probably seemed fairly, just being kind of unkind or a little like vandals, but it had significance because it was making a point that we wanted to become eventually a republic, which had never happened. No one had ever figured out a way for the people to rule. It was always a monarchy, or it was always run through some sort of tyrant, or somebody had the armies that could control the folks. But certainly the people didn't run the show. And so that's what makes us different than a democracy. And so there's a lot of layers of what has become the United States on that fateful night where tea was distributed into the Atlantic Ocean. And so I apologize for you having to clean your cup, for you having to shine your saucer. And I really apologize if you ironed your napkins, because you didn't get to use any of those things, because what you were really doing was studying a very important moment in the history of the country that you happen to be a citizen of.
So, wait, hold on. They threw the tea into the ocean?
They did. It was in boxes. It wasn't like they had little tea bags and they did that. That'd be a little too dainty, a little too polite, a little too British. No, they just threw it overboard. Crazy. Just here. Take care of that. Do something about that.
That is
It was
not
salty tea. It's
tea
not
party.
good tea. You wouldn't want salty tea. Trust me on this. Tea and salt, not a good mix.
That is not a tea party. That is a toddler losing an argument with England.
What?
Yes.
Okay. So,
Okay.
My tea parties have fewer taxes, but considerably more stuffies.
Okay.
now it's all becoming crystal clear just how committed you guys are to your autonomy and not playing games with tyrants. So you're of a good lineage. You're keeping the chain alive of what made America great.
Absolutely. Well, okay, William, what do you got? What's your next thing?
Okay, so my next thing. So Brad, parents tell
Yes.
parents tell children not to throw rocks. Then I'm not allowed to throw rocks. Then there's David and Goliath. Mom, what do you think I'm doing here? Practicing. Can we please get clear household rules?
Well, I think the first premise is that you always need to do, as a logical, inductive, reasoning human being, is as a Christ follower, you have to respect your parents first, of course. But I think that your parents would also want you to be articulate, logical, able and established citizenry that can engage in culture in a way that's effective and helpful. So one of the things that is necessary to do that is to define your terms. What you will find is people will oftentimes use words that sound like you think you know what they mean, but they don't. They've redefined them to mean something else or conflated them to mean something else. So if your mother said, don't throw rocks, you have to stop and go, well, wait a minute. What if I wanted to skip a rock across the lake? Isn't that a beautiful homeschooly type of thing that one can do? They even have tournaments where you can try to see how many times you can skip that rock and have a world's record. So you might have said to her, I'm trying to practice on how to make a world's record. Mom, do you mind? I want to be in the Guinness Book. Or you might have said, well, can I throw a rock, let's say, at a bear that's coming after me, and I'm just using my intellect and what you've taught me in homeschool on how to be self-sufficient, but most importantly, how to create and craft my own weaponry, if necessary. So what if it was under the auspices of defending myself? So to say a very innocuous term, don't throw rocks, might mean, but aren't there some contexts where rock throwing could be effective and practical and pragmatic and necessary? And once you do that, your mother will be confounded. She might start crying, so then you need to comfort her. And the best way to do that is to continue with the tea party, but this time have actual tea that doesn't have salt in it, and then let her sit down and finish. So see, there's a whole through line of how your life is going to plan out, and it's because of me. You had me on your show. See, clearly, your family's made of anarchy. I'm here to fix that. I'm here to be the duct tape for your broken carburetor. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely.
Just
Benny,
wanted
what
to
do you
make
got?
sure. Gotcha.
Okay, I have a question.
Nice and loud.
Makes
Nice
sense,
enough,
because if
baby.
you had a
Go ahead.
statement, I might disagree. So
Yeah.
a question is much better.
All right.
It's a little bit of a mix.
Was Noah the first dad to say, I don't care who started it, we're all staying on this boat?
Well, was he the first dad to say that? I would have to say no. And the reason I would have to say no is because I think that somehow we are presuming, I don't know why, that prior to Noah, there were no boats. Now, why would we make that assumption? That's quite a leap of illogic. And why do I say that? Well, how could he have built a boat if he didn't have what Plato would have called a form or a knowledge of what boatism is? What does a boat mean? Doesn't mean all boats are the same. They're not the same size, the same shape, the same girth. They're not made of the same product. But we know what a boat is, and he couldn't have made a boat if he didn't know what a boat was. Because we notice that God gave him specific instructions on how to build the boat, the parameters, what to use, what materials to use, how to keep it from sinking. But he didn't assume he never knew what a boat was. So I would have to say that there was probably some other father somewhere with a big old boat. That's how they got around, with his wife and his children like you, who are always annoying us as fathers. And yeah, we could either just say you're staying here or we're going to turn this boat around. And that's the last thing you want to hear, especially if you're going somewhere fun that you ruined because you were constantly jabbering at each other or hitting each other and saying he started it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So no, there's lots of unknown, undocumented fathers who you kids have frustrated to the point where they wanted to turn the boat around.
Okay.
William, you're up.
Now this is conjecture. I could be way off, but how
No,
would
no,
I?
I think I could testify that there were
Okay.
fathers before
Yeah.
Noah turning boats around all
There
the time.
you have it. There you have it.
Absolutely. We'll get to the Mayflower in a minute. That's
Amen.
William.
all right.
Alright.
William, you're up.
So why does Dad say, I'll say a quick prayer, and then deliver the spiritual state of the union? It's like 10 minutes, my feet are asleep, the food is cold. Dad, I'm hungry!
Yeah, I'll tell you why. Because you got to understand that children have a hard time with patience. As a matter of fact, that's why when you get hurt and you go to the hospital, they call you a patient. Because you are in pain, you're bothering us, you are inconveniencing us, and you're costing us more money. Because you're always getting hurt and then we have to fix it. And you are trying our patience. So you, as kids, when you sit down to eat, are hungry, and that's okay. God created you to be hungry, right? I mean, He eats. Adam and Eve ate, okay? But you didn't pay for this. You didn't have to do anything. Now you're homeschooled, so maybe you had some chores. Maybe you had to go outside and dig a moat. Maybe they forced you to churn butter or weave your own clothing. Again, you're homeschoolers. You have to know how to be self-sufficient. But fathers are really trying to teach you, A, that you are thankful that you have food. Some people don't. B, they want to show you how smart and articulate we are, and how connected to God, we are. So oftentimes, if you guys are confused by things or you don't know, and Dad says, "Listen, I was talking to God. He's very disappointed in you kids. I had to calm him down, talk him down. He was going to punish you with locusts and leprosy, which, trust me, is rough." And so fathers are always intervening for you children. Absolutely. And so you need to be so grateful that he's praying with eloquence and depth, but most importantly, that it's teaching you patience so that you learn it now and not in the hospital.
Perfect. That's a really good. He's standing up for all fathers everywhere.
You got to understand. There's these kids. These kids are going to be so unhappy that they were asking me questions.
Okay. All right. Let's do one more, and then we'll move on to the next segment. Betty, go ahead. Do your next one. What do you have?
Okay.
What issues do you have for Brad?
All right. So Moses wandered in the wilderness for 40 years.
Betty, you gotta slow down and say that one more time.
Moses wandered in the wilderness for 40 years. Mm-hmm. At what point did somebody quietly suggest, ask for directions?
I'm sorry, sweetheart. I didn't hear the whisper. It didn't come through, so I didn't.
Just say it one more time.
Hear the
punch. Baby.
Okay, I said ask for directions.
Oh, you know what? I was assuming that was the direction this thing was going to go. I just didn't hear it in the whisper. Okay, so ask for directions. Now you got to understand something. What are directions? What does it mean?
It's like a compass. It tells you where to go.
Okay, who invented compasses?
How should I know?
That's my point. So you're confused. So what you have to understand is some guy somewhere, probably on a boat with a bunch of kids that were bugging him, had to invent a compass. So men invented compasses. So the reason that you know how to turn left and right is because a man invented it. So a man is your father or the leader, and so he doesn't need directions because he knows that if he keeps going long enough, he'll eventually stumble upon where he needs to go, thus saving him the embarrassment of being confused and confounded, giving the illusion he always knows exactly where he's going. And lastly, because it shows that men are adventurers, and yes, maybe we got lost, but look at all the cool things we discovered along the way. So really, it was a father doing a service to these people and giving them basically an all-expense-paid trip, covered all the food, by the way, and got to see rocks that could spit out water, got to see brooks that could break into half. They got to see, it was really a vacation. This man gave them a 40-year vacation, and they didn't appreciate it. All they said is, I want to get there. Why? Because they're impatient. Why? Because they're acting like children. Why? Because we've already proven that kids don't even like prayers if they don't get to eat quickly. So a lot of what we're learning today is how important it is for children to obey their parents. Because no matter what they say, it's probably right. And by the time you get old enough to figure out they weren't right, it's too late. You have kids of your own, and now it's your problem.
See, God's coming. He's already saying it. Speaking words of the Lord right here. Just we're getting, might as well be in that church. This is fantastic.
Listen, I get tired of having this type of wisdom and genius and depth of insight, but it's the cross I have to bear. And you kids, I hope you kids brought a notebook and are taking notes, because much of what I'm giving to you is just for you in your special circumstances. And I don't give this to everybody, just letting you know. This is for you guys because I have a special place in my heart for you.
Well, it's been a treat. Thank you so much. So I'm wondering if now would be a good time. William, as you can tell, they're working on material. You know, they're really working their material. So William has some questions about actually writing comedy, and this is the homeschool part. Writing comedy, how you write, and stuff. So he's got a couple of prepared questions just to kind of get the conversation started. We can spend a few minutes on that and then kind of go from there and go into the rapid fire next portion, if that's okay with you.
So are you saying that this is part of his curriculum?
Yeah, well, sure. It's homeschool, so it's all curriculum.
Okay.
But he is writing. He wrote a lot of the jokes and a lot of the prompts. And
We thought
so,
we'd call on the professor.
Yes, bring in the professionals. So William has a couple of questions for you about writing comedy in a Christian conservative world.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So, how do you make faith part of a joke without making God the punchline?
Well, it's really contextual. Like, what is the joke about? I mean, a lot of my material can just be about normal life, right? About road signs or about, I don't know, I'm trying to even think of some of the stuff. But some of it is just what they call observational humor. You find humor in the human experience because everybody experiences basically the same thing, and basically everybody finds the problems the same, even in different cultures or whatever. Male and female conflict has been around for thousands of years. So some jokes just kind of are the human experience. When it comes to elements of faith, what I did was I decided to presume that what I believed was true, and not preface it with hey, I'm a Christian, I think like this. I'm like, well, if Christianity is true, if Christ is who he says he is, then I don't need a predicate. I can simply say, here's what God says. So one of the things I did was just kind of presume it was true. And so I would talk about maybe some biblical stories. I had one of my oldest routines was about Adam and Eve and Adam naming the animals and things like that. But it was more about the stories in the Bible. So the few times that I have talked, and again, I have to think of this because it's not like I sit there and ponder my own material. I talked about Jesus being brother. I think being brothers to Jesus, how hard that would be because he was perfect, right? So, you would pale in comparison to him in his day-to-day walk. So it's always just kind of, I think, how humans grapple with the Almighty and God. Even if it was dealing with funny things about God, it would be from a human perspective. We find it funny that this happens or that God does this or why does he do that? So again, it's not mocking or belittling God. It's really kind of making fun of the human not really knowing how to engage the greatest, most powerful being that has ever been and ever will be. So there's a lot of room for humor there, I guess. So I think it just kind of writes itself. So I think the only thing I wouldn't do was to mock God, right? Is to insult or trivialize him. But that's only because I'm a believer. So I have a self motivation to be honorable. But I think God also laughs. He says so, and if we have a attribute that is good, and biblically sound, like a sense of humor. It means God had it first, because we are made in his image. So I think God can laugh with himself. I think he gives us permission. Matter of fact, I think that's part of what the power of comedy is it finds a way to laugh at hard things. It finds a way to find humor in pain. It finds a way to navigate hard ideas and cultural issues in a way that is palatable and a spoonful of sugar in the medicine. So I think there is comedy, stand-up comedy can be used as a tool to enlighten and inspire and provoke thought, if you do it with that intention, which I do. Not all comics do. There's Christian comics who are just funny, but they're more safe. And for sure, the one thing that has always stood out in my purpose as a stand-up in the faith genre is I never wanted to be safe. I wanted to be dangerous. I wanted to provoke thought. I wanted to be sophisticated. I wanted people to have to deal with the ramifications of being human and what's at stake. So my comedy became a ministry because it was so much more what I was called to do than I realized when I started as a comic. So that's a long, convoluted answer to a very simple question, but it was brilliant. It was brilliant. Man, I'm good. Matter of fact, can you send me this tape of this so I can watch it back and just admire myself?
Should we?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Makes
Definitely.
perfect sense.
Just
Absolutely.
want to make sure.
No, and actually, I really appreciate that because there's just so much in there. William, did you have something more?
A couple things.
Sure, go ahead.
So, should I do these?
Yeah, you can
Alright.
do those.
All right. So, another question. What is your favorite bit?
I would say a 3/4 inch, because what happens is they open up a lot more holes, and so you can get a screw in there or a bolt, but
Yes.
it's kind of like a double dimension, so it's not as small as a 1/2 inch, not as big as a big inch, which gives too much play in the joint. So definitely a 3/4 inch bit, I think, has the most. Now, that doesn't mean it's a metal bit, though. I usually use wood bits, though you do need a metal bit if you're using, wrought iron or whatnot. But I prefer wood, probably, more often. So I'd say a 3/4 bit, I think, has the most, gives you the most options, I guess, is what I'm getting at. But I'm curious why you're interested in drill bits.
Well, not exactly drill bits, but more comedy bits.
Oh, do you remember earlier when I told you that you always have to get a context? That if somebody says things like "don't throw a rock," you have to understand. Well, make sure I understand what you mean by "don't throw a rock," because there might be times when that rock needs to be thrown, right? Mm-hmm. So if you had been a tad more precise, said a comedy bit, I go, "Oh, that bit." Remember, one of the greatest problems in American Christianity, and be very clear, I always differentiate American Christianity from everybody else because American Christians are the weakest. American Christians are the least committed, the least warriors, the least discipled, the least disciplined, because we never had to suffer for what we say we believe is true. So Christians in America have been taught to judge things based on content instead of context. The context is the most important thing. It's not what I say. What did I mean? Mm-hmm. You have to understand something. You guys believe the Bible is true, but you're homeschoolers. So you have a caricature of what that means. You're hyper-conservative, you're puritanical. We were talking about the Mayflower, right? That you are, whatever, use a curse word or something, that you're just super, by the book, not even a sniff of sin or evil. I mean, in other words, it's a caricature of what it means to be the homeschool guys, the most extreme right, if we're going to use that term, of the Christian. But you read a Bible, and you believe the Bible is the Word of God, which means whatever's in it, God told the stories he wanted told. He wrote them. He inspired. He said, I want to talk about this now. Now, why am I getting there? Well, because oftentimes people who are very conservative Christians and are trying to serve God, I'm not saying there's something nefarious about it, might say, well, we would only watch a movie, let's say, that wouldn't have somebody drinking a beer, or we wouldn't do a movie that had somebody that might say a curse word, or we wouldn't watch a movie because we have these parameters set. Meanwhile, because you would think those stories are inappropriate for Christians, especially kids, God said, did I tell you the story about the two girls having sex with their dad? Because I want to tell that story. Oh, did I tell the story about the king that voyeuristically watched a woman bathe, had sex with her, got her pregnant, and killed her husband? Because that's a story I want to tell. And we would say that's inappropriate. Why? That's not family friendly. And then you're saying, so the Bible is inappropriate for homeschoolers. So if you don't get the depth of understanding of what it means to be a Christ follower, if you don't understand this idea, you were not called to be a Christian.
Yeah.
You were called to be a disciple. Mm-hmm. Do you know the difference? Christian means God does all the work. Disciple means you have to partner now in disciplining yourself to seek what God would ask of you if you've accepted his sacrifice, which, by the way, he told you to count the cost. It wasn't free. It's very expensive. And so this shallow, myopic look at what it means to be a Christian in America is why the church is dying, why there's so much heresy, why there's so much Christian titles given to a church that has abandoned all theological history of what Christianity has taught for 2,000 years, because we didn't care more about what was meant than what was said. It takes maturity. It takes the ability to discern, and it takes the ability to mature. Now, that doesn't mean that for a 3-year-old there's certain things that are inappropriate. But it's not because the material isn't appropriate or doesn't need to be analyzed. It means they're not capable yet of digesting it. It's just beyond them. It's just a weight too heavy to bear, that's all. So, that being said, I want you to just keep in mind that the stories of the Bible are pretty hardcore. Mm-hmm. Some of the language is pretty hardcore.
Yeah.
And so you, as a Christ follower who represents him, need to be the maturest, the most disciplined, the most a standard that others view you and say, how did you become like this? How are you so strong when somebody treats you so evilly? How are you so kind when someone is not reciprocating? How are you so smart? How are you? You represent God. And there comes with a lot of responsibility. Now, I'm going to ask you to repeat the question for 2 reasons. 1, based on the depth of foundation that I've established, and 2, because I forgot what you asked.
Okay. So, what is your favorite comedy bit? Is that better?
Well done. You've learned. My favorite comedy bit. You mean that I did or that I've heard in my lifetime? See how you weren't quite precise?
Let's say one of yours.
Okay, now we're locked down. I don't know if I have one. Let me tell you something. I don't know that, how do I say this? If you're a comic, you're trying to write material, you're trying to brings things that you think are clever and funny to the people. You hope they laugh. That's the only way you know if it's working, because they laughed. If they don't laugh, it didn't funny. If it's not funny, it didn't work. It's not a good joke. So yeah, we want that. But here's the thing that you need to realize. Performance artists, that's a comic, that's a musician, that might even be an actor, it might be a mime, it might be a juggler, right? We are moved by the creative process. We enjoy it. We are good at it. God has blessed us with this ability. But we normally don't sit there and ponder how amazing we are that we thought of it, because we don't know how we do it. It's a gift. Not everybody can do stand-up comedy any more than everybody can be a concert pianist. There's a lot of piano players, but to play at the levels of the concert pianist, not everybody can do it. Okay? Not everybody can be a stand-up. You might be humorous and funny to your friends, but to stand in front of strangers and try to make all these guys laugh, that's the hard part. So I guess what I'm getting at is, I don't know that normally you would say this is my favorite, or you could really break it down, because you're just grateful that people laugh at anything you do. You know, you're just trying to. But I mean, if I had to try to find something that I guess I felt I enjoyed the process of it, or that I felt it just felt fun to create, or I just kind of enjoyed the result. And again, I don't sit and think about it, so I'm kind of, this is kind of off the cuff. I kind of like the chopsticks joke I wrote years ago, only because it just was kind of a funny story about all this crazy, what if we suddenly just, everything is archaic ways of going through life. I just kind of liked that idea, because I felt it was kind of clever and took it a lot deeper than maybe somebody else might have seen in a joke about chopsticks. Plus it had a poignant story to it that dealt with political correctness and wokeism and stifling free speech. All these things are very important to me. As I said, my comedy wasn't just about bringing laughs, but trying to be cultural commentary on what's going on in my country, especially because I believe so much in liberty and free speech. As a comic, my entire livelihood is based on words, so I need access to all of them. So I kind of like that one, I guess. Like I said, I'm literally trying to think about it, because, there's so many things. And the other thing is that people that like an artist, maybe they watch their material and maybe have watched it many times and they just enjoy it. To the guy that writes it, once it's done, he's like, okay, I'm moving on. I want new stuff now, because that's the fun, is the creative process. So I literally forget stuff I did. Like somebody might say, hey, do the bit about, and I was like, I don't even remember how I did that, because it's been like 5 years, 10 years since I even did that material.
Yeah.
I kind of liked grandma's perfume, this idea of how, older women would have this perfume that's just like obnoxious. I don't know. I thought it was kind of clever, and it had some physical elements to it. I always enjoyed the physical parts. I think Adam and Eve naming the animals was kind of a fun.
Yeah, that was perfect.
And I just think it was kind of, I think what I liked about that was, I think to me what makes comedy, stand-up comedy great, and what makes something maybe, I'd say this would be the easiest way to describe it as a stand-up comic. The great, you get joy out of finding writing jokes and having people laugh. It's fun. But I think the real the real joy, the real accomplishment is if you can find funny where nobody else found it before. That's when stand-up really is interesting. And there's different comics with different styles, right? But I've always said this, like for many years, people would interview me about being clean. It's like, well, wasn't that hard to be clean? And it's like they felt sorry for me. And I said, yeah, it's hard. It's much, much, much harder. But that's what made it fun, was how do I get the same laugh without having to use language or sexual jokes or whatever thing everybody else is doing? How do I find funny in this? So if I say some crude thing and people laugh, okay, they laugh. Gotta laugh. But if I can find funny in a loaf of bread, if I can find funny in a toothpick, that's the beauty of it. That's the magic. How did you find funny in something that's innocuous? There shouldn't be any funny in that. Mm-hmm. How did you do that? And that's the clever part. That's the artistic part, is trying to discover, finding a funny place that maybe nobody saw before or overlooked. So I think just the idea of the animal, and by the way, I'm also naming things that I've heard people over the years say they liked, the jokes that have come up the most, mm-hmm. and that happened to be one of them. So that tells me that it bore fruit, that one happened to just strike a chord. And so I feel like nobody that I know of had ever thought about the challenge of coming up with a name for 10,000 different things or whatever. So anyways, I guess that might be a joke that I think I kind of felt good about.
Well, Brad, we're just at the end. I've got one more question for you, and then we can do a rapid fire. But you talked about being dangerous. How do you, comedy-wise, how do you be dangerous? You fall in this very interesting vein where it's dangerous, it's open, but how do you be dangerous, Christian, clean, and funny all at the same time? Is it a process, or is it more just a mindset?
Well, it's a mindset. I mean, I think when I started doing comedy, remember, I started out in comedy clubs. So I was in a place where people drank and smoked and cursed, and that's all it was. And it's a nightclub. It's a bar, right? So I wanted to go there because I wanted to be a comic, and the only way I could feel that I was really a stand-up comic is, can I do it in the hardest places to do comedy, which are comedy clubs? Because there's no screwing around. If you're not funny, you get fired. See, if I did funny stuff in a church, nobody's going to heckle me. Nobody's going to be drunk. Nobody's going to be judging, right? We're all about giving grace. And, well, he sucked, but he did it for Jesus. That's all that matters. And I didn't do it that way. I said, I want to go where you actually have to prove your salt. So when I felt like God was calling me to the church, and I'm like, God, why would you want me to do clean comedy? That's what I thought I was doing, was just clean comedy. Why would you want me to bring clean comedy? Why would you want me to sell clean comedy to Christians? They already bought it. Wouldn't it be better if I did clean comedy in nightclubs where they're not used to that being funny? Matter of fact, I used to do a show, and I would finish and I go, well, I've been up here 45 minutes and didn't use one curse word. They said it couldn't be done, but I believe that creativity is funnier than crude. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's what I said. And they'd clap, mm-hmm. because they went, oh, hey, he didn't curse. I thought that's the only way it can be funny. So I was making a statement about trying to be, I guess, artistically clever, right?
Yep.
So when I felt like God was calling me to the church, I said, God, I'll go wherever you send me. It's your business. You gave me this gift. But I don't want to dumb it down. See, when I started in the churches, there weren't that many Christian comics as there are now. And those that were there were funny, but they were very churchy, very stereotypical. kind of churchy, safe. And I said, I just want to be sophisticated.
I didn't get that.
I want to be, I don't know why that happened. I just want to be sophisticated. I want to do comedy for Christians that I believe are mature enough and adult enough to get the nuances and the subtleties and the sarcasm, all the tools that make comedy a very specific form of artistic communication. And I want to bring it to my own people and not dumb it down and not be corny. And God said to me, why do you think I trained you in nightclubs? I want you to go to my people and renew their minds as to what flavor I come in. Because in the future, America's going to change. And my people better get used to unorthodox means by which I'm going to tell my story, because the message of Jesus never changes. The messenger does. And in this case, I felt obligated to raise the bar. I want my people to be able to listen to quality comedy that might have some edge to it, not to be trivial or trite or irreligious or try to push some envelope for the sake of being breaking taboos. I wasn't trying to do it just for just to be irreverent. I felt like my people needed to renew their minds. They had to understand how to think differently and to do it at a higher level of sophistication, because we're being attacked by an enemy who controls the narratives, controls the news, controls the books, controls the schools, the academies, and is trying to inculcate into my culture a demonic, evil, Marxist, atheistic, deconstructed, postmodern, post-truth, anti-Christian ideology. It's going to destroy my nation. It's going to destroy my people. And in my tiny little influence as a comic, I want to do what I can to fight back. And that can't be safe. You know, I made a joke once, but it was true. The truth is supposed to offend you. That's how you know you don't have it. It's called conviction. And I felt like for my call, I want to use Christian worldview as social commentator to the church. I believe my call is to the church. I'm not an evangelist. I'm to the people who say they're believers, to say you got to go a lot deeper. You got to go a lot deeper. There's a lot more expected. I think that's what became a ministry for that reason. So if that's what it means to be dangerous, all it means is I heard what God told me to do and I did it. And sometimes that looks like John, the disciple who lays his head on Jesus's chest. And sometimes it looks like John the Baptist, who is such a freak, people have to come look at him and watch. Have you seen this guy? He's crazy. He's wild. But I gotta listen. Something's going on. Sometimes we have to move beyond lamb carrying Jesus, which is sweet and kind and beautiful and feminine. And we need table tipping Jesus. And that is what I mean by dangerous. speaking the truth, come what may, and let God deal with it from there.
Amen. Amen. Brad, it's been great. We were thinking about doing a different segment, but I think that's a really solid spot to end on. You've been a gem and a joy for us. We've really appreciated your insight, your ministry, your call, and how devoted you are to your call. We hope to be able to do more things with you in the future, because I think you're just an American icon. So,
well, that's quite a beautiful, special, humbling thing to say, but thank you. And yeah, if I do something and say things that allow homeschoolers to, in the parents to feel comfortable that they can listen to this and it's funny, but it's uplifting and it has some inspiration, that's why I'm here. I'm just a piece of the puzzle, just like you. I'm not better, I'm not more important, but I am doing what I'm called to do. And as long as you're doing what you're called to do, then together we can assist each other. So yeah, man, if you guys ever do something that you think I might be of assistance or a fit, then I'm here. And if not, keep me in your prayers. It ain't easy. People that say the things I say get shot now.
Ooh.
And just keep that in mind. But it's all right. I'm going home. And I'd rather go down swinging like a man of God than sitting in my deathbed having my children say, tell us again what it was like when America was free. So let's see where we're at, brother. But thanks so much. I hope it was helpful. I hope
it absolutely is. So we're going to do a send-off, but I'm not going to cut off the Zoom. So hang tight for a quick second. What? You want to do what? Oh, you want to say something? Absolutely. I think everybody can say something. Go ahead, sweetheart. Go ahead.
Okay, I liked all the comedy bits, but especially I've been repeating the chopstick one, which is really funny.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that was a fun one. That was. I'm glad. I was kind of proud of that one when I finished, because it was. I don't know. It was fun to write.
Okay, so William, did you have something real quick before we say goodbye?
Well, it's a very small question.
A small question.
Yeah. So, who is your favorite comedian?
I don't have a favorite. I have different comics that I have appreciated what they brought to the table. I think artists, learn from lots of artists and are inspired by artists. So I would have to say, and it's always a little, it's not odd, it sounds, because people get it, but I probably was most appreciated George Carlin, who was an atheist and was terrible language and this and that. I just liked his writing. He was just so smart, and that's what I appreciated. I wanted to be smart as a Christ follower and not compromise my faith. So I appreciated his intelligence and the depth of what he brought to humor, and just finding funny in places nobody had ever did before. I liked Seinfeld for his unpacking of a joke and then finding so many more pieces of it that maybe somebody else had left on the table. I liked Steve Martin because he was so surreal and silly. I loved Monty Python, how they were smart and mixed with silly. So just lots of different people that I enjoyed over the years for different reasons is probably the best answer.
Well, thank you very much once again. So Henry, you have a question? What's up, buddy? But let's be fast. Go ahead.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Maybe George Washington was as big as the Washington Monument. Because I saw scribbles on it. That's why there's scribbles. He picked up the Washington Monument and then did one dot and there was scribbles on it.
Okay. Well, there's
On the very many Declaration of Independence.
Oh, I see.
Henry likes to call.
So we just came back.
To call the Washington Monument the Washington Pencil.
The Washington Pencil, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
We just came back from DC, spending the whole Great American State Fair there, and the dedication and the memorial. We were media partners as well as family activation layers, all that other stuff. So we've been having a blast, and the kids have just so many.
And he thought the Washington Monument was like a pencil.
Yep, that's Washington pencil.
That makes sense. And you know who used those pencils? The Nephilim.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. This is biblical. See.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, only a giant could handle that pencil, right?
Right. Exactly. See, George Washington was tall, but you know, here we go.
Yeah, right.
So we'll get to a second. Okay.
He was even bigger than Goliath, I bet.
Probably. Okay, so faith and freedom are not inherited automatically. This is something we like to tell our audience all the time. Freedom is built. It's not inherited. They have to be passed on. They're passed on through stories, through example, around the put your foot down, baby, around the family table, and sometimes through a punchline. So Brad Stine still has issues, but now some of them are ours, and you can have them back now, Brad. We love you, buddy. So let's say like our send off is may God bless you, may God bless America, and may God bless this American family. We really appreciate you, Brad. Say bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me, you guys. I hope you had some fun.
We did.
Yes.
I hope you
All right,
did too.
All right, thank you, guys. I'll see you down the road. Or if not, I'll see you on the other side.